A world powered by the blockchain is being formed right in front of our eyes. Experts are calling it the Internet 3.0, the next digital revolution. It's leaving many investors and even institutions looking for a path to take an early position in this massive opportunity. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Dash, it's all speculation at this point. But what is certain is that the most profitable businesses for cryptocurrency and the blockchain is in the actual creation of these coins. This is why some of the top early adopters of Bitcoin, blockchain miners, fund managers, and even billionaires have come together to create a new vehicle to invest in the blockchain core itself. Get immediate access to this new company by going to crushthestreet.com/Bitcoin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to crushthestreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri, and I'm joined today with a returning guest, Bitcoin Charlie of easycryptocurrency.com. And, you know, he was on the show not that long ago saying that Bitcoin will be the future. Of course, Bitcoin was much, much lower when we had this conversation last. And the credibility, it's there. It's factual. You can see what's happened in the cryptocurrency space. It's caught on in a very large way. So I'm happy to have him on. He's an entrepreneur and founder of Easy Bitcoin for Beginners course and runs the website easycryptocurrency.com. Charlie, Bitcoin Charlie, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me today.
Well, thank you for having me again.
You know, Charlie, I would have to say that you've been very much right. In my intro, I alluded to that. But we're in a new environment now. It feels like a new environment with Bitcoin correcting, and it's actually under $10,000 at the moment. And maybe it's losing some of that steam. And, you know, this is very much a temporary sort of reaction. I mean, you really can't look at something and judge it for what it's done in a week or a few weeks or even a month. But given the current environment, what are your general thoughts on Bitcoin at the moment?
Well, I'm still very positive on Bitcoin. It was like a year ago this month that Bitcoin was trading at $1,000, and a lot of the people were saying, well, it may not last this long. And I was kind of sitting on the opposite side of the fence when I got involved with Bitcoin, because I thought, well, this is the future of money, because I could see the writing was on the wall. I posted on one of my personal blogs way back in 08, 09, right after we had the big economic downturn, that I was looking for a better answer, maybe other than gold and silver, to maybe offset some of our financial stresses we might have, in the fact that we would need something better as a currency to help ourselves. Well, lo and behold, Bitcoin came along, and here just in this last year, it's gone from $1,000 a Bitcoin to now, yeah, it's had a huge correction, but we're still looking at $10,000 a Bitcoin. And that's 1,000% return just in 1 year. So that's a pretty incredible gain, in my opinion.
So one of the things that has been an issue for Bitcoin, and it's a benefit to its competitors, have been the rising transaction fees. And they've been collapsing over the last few weeks significantly. And I'm just wondering, are you privy to what's going on behind the scenes and why we are seeing the Bitcoin transaction fees fall?
Well, I think one of the things for the reason for the fall is they're getting a lot of competition from other coins. And I would say coins is in the world of currency coins like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, these two coins are already starting to come on. I have a very, very positive outlook on Litecoin, as I always have. And I think Litecoin's probably going to make some big announcements here maybe in the next 6 months that might kind of set the standards. And if you've ever used Litecoin, it is incredibly fast. I prefer using Litecoin to any other coin right now, just because the transactions are so fast, the fees are incredibly low. But I think Bitcoin's starting to get some competition from outside sources. If you look on CoinMarketCap right now, I think when I looked it up last night, the market dominance for Bitcoin had dropped clear down to like 35%. So it's no longer necessarily the dominant coin out there. So it's getting a lot of competition from the other sources.
Sure. And I mean, Ethereum really didn't move much while Bitcoin was soaring from what, $5,000 to $20,000. And we've seen that gap largely bridge in the last while here. While Bitcoin has come down, Ethereum's $1,100 at the moment, and of course, you know, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, Ethereum's market cap is 108 billion. Bitcoin's market cap is 158 billion. So just seeing the fact that Bitcoin has lost some of its dominance, it's making people wonder, and it's making people accept the possibility that something else might come around and overtake it. As much as we don't want to hear that, the possibility is certainly there.
I would tend to agree with you on that. And like I said, I think that Bitcoin's starting to see some competitors out there, and its dominance has dropped here. Well, in this last correction, its dominance has dropped. When it was approaching $20,000 a coin, I think it was back up in the neighborhood of like 58% dominance. So it's had a severe correction there as well.
Yeah, and I think it's just like, it's one of those things, it's so much on perception, and perception is self-fulfilling. And we've seen that in so many ways when it comes to markets and market psychology. But you know what was interesting about 2017 is that this year was, or 2017 was the year of utility tokens and so many coins that were built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. And Ethereum benefited greatly from that. And from a technological perspective, it was very exciting. Not necessarily from a monetary perspective in every instance, but from a technological perspective, the platform for decentralized technologies. And I think that was really cool. But in 2018, you know, going to some of these conferences and listening to some of the smartest people out there, we're on the verge of seeing equity tokenized, and for securities to go into the blockchain space. And instead of having stocks per se in a traditional sense, you might be trading a token that represents a share of a company. And unlike the way a lot of these ICOs have been, where a company raises money, but the token itself doesn't represent a share of the underlying company. This is what we're on the verge of seeing. And I'm curious as to, you know, what are your thoughts on this and the future of the cryptocurrency space?
Well, I would tend to agree with you on that, because I think these security tokens offer a new value statement out there in the cryptocurrency world, because basically a security token, as I understand it, it's basically like a share of some type of company with something backing it. Maybe it's a gold product, maybe it's a silver product, maybe it's real estate, but you have all these other underlying methods. And I think it's actually better than what some people would say is our dying stock market, because at least with cryptocurrency, you have proof of ownership. Whereas if you buy a share of stock or something, you're assuming that the brokers put those shares in your name, and it's not necessarily held in the street name, which I think 99% of them, all of them are. So
that's a good
point. It's going to give us some good benefits going forward, because I think it's the wave of the future.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. I mean, Bitcoin itself and some of these really decentralized cryptocurrencies, those can't be stopped, and they have their value based on being a monetary tool. But some of these other tokens, they're certainly going to bend over and comply for the governments. And for them to even get off the ground, they're going to need to be AML compliant, KYC compliant. And, you know, it almost makes you wonder, is there a need for something else that gives the government all of the information and complies by all of their rules and regulations, when the cryptocurrency space was birthed out of this decentralized libertarian freedom environment? But there are other benefits of the blockchain. And like you said, having ownership and I guess more transparency than there is in the traditional stock market. And I think it's going to take some time for, I guess, Wall Street to come around to this because obviously there's the legacy systems that a lot of the legacy players are incentivized to continue on forward. They don't want to have to switch. Nobody likes change because that's a risk of loss of control. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things go forward here and who fights against it, who tries to keep this back, and if they're able to hold back this new trend.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And I like the fact that if it's on the blockchain, now you have some proof of ownership and you can actually go out there and verify it. And I think that's what a lot of these companies are moving more and more towards, because I'm hearing there's like no discussion anymore, at least the little I'm hearing, on IPOs. Everybody's going for an ICO these days just so they can put their code up on the internet and then they can put it out and release their white paper and then start getting some funding with it fairly easily. And I guess they don't have to go through near the hoops and they can get the funding a lot easier rather than running an IPO through a banking system where the bank's actually taking a cut of the funds that they're actually raising. So
yeah, absolutely. Charlie, so let's get back to Bitcoin. This is the decentralized currency. This is a fire that's been lit that nobody can put out now. And it's been a powerful thing. But at the same time, some of its limitations have birthed opportunities in other coins, like you said, Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash. And I'm wondering, do you believe that Bitcoin will remain resilient and adopt changes that will make it more user-friendly? Or are some of these other ones going to take it over? I know we touched on that a little bit, but I guess what are your thoughts on Bitcoin Cash? Because this has Bitcoin's name on it. It's got the website bitcoin.com, and from a marketing perspective, I think it's a threat to Bitcoin.
I would tend to agree with you. Bitcoin has been very slow to adopt, and they seem to be focusing on more of a long-term security and a buy and hold mentality, and their fees have been incredibly high, like you were talking about, and they haven't been willing to adapt to the world that is coming right before them. So I think, yeah, I would say Bitcoin Cash, if they can keep doing what they're doing now, they can probably take over some more of that market share. And as I'm seeing it, Bitcoin may just be more so of a long-term hold. You don't use it for day-to-day transactions.
Sure.
And like I was saying, Litecoin, if you use that at all for any type of transaction, that could very easily function day-to-day as somebody's type of currency. And with 4 times the amount of coins out on the blockchain with Litecoin, it's got a little bit more, there's more tokens or currencies out there to be used, so the value may stay lower. And I think that going forward, it wouldn't be hard for Bitcoin to adapt a piece of software. Somebody could adopt a piece of software if they could come together and put it out there, and it could become the new cash currency, today or tomorrow. But with all of the internal struggles that they're having right now, I don't foresee that probably happening anytime in the near future.
One of the biggest benefits that Bitcoin had as an on-ramp to users was Coinbase. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And it made it easier for the average person to purchase Bitcoin. And that's something that you've helped people with, is understanding Bitcoin for beginners. And I'm wondering, is the general space getting easier and easier for the average person?
I say it is, because when I first got started in this, the exchange world was limited at best. And if you could find an exchange, they didn't really want to get you approved, and then it took forever, and then you had to set up your bank. Here today, if you go out to Coinbase, if you set it up with a credit card, you can buy funds the day you set up your account, and if you do the KYC stuff, like uploading your driver's license, you can have those funds deposited in your Coinbase account, and then you can put them on your own wallet. You can send them wherever you want to send them. I will admit, though, that getting started today, Coinbase will cap you. They'll probably give you a minimum somewhere around $100 or $250 worth of coins you can purchase that day. And as you build up your credibility with them and you do more and more verification with them, they grant you more and more ability to buy more and more coins. But when I first started out, I was having to go to what's called localbitcoins.com to buy my Bitcoins, which you can still use today. It's just a little clunky because you got to take physical cash to a bank, deposit in the guy's bank or person's bank account who's going to send you the bank or the Bitcoins. Once they verify that the money's in their bank, then they'll ship you the Bitcoins. But it's kind of a clunky system because it takes a while. The bank has to be open, and then the bank has to be willing to accept a deposit from somebody like you. And right now, Chase Bank has already blocked any type of banks taking deposits from strangers. So I think they're trying to get more compliant with the KYC stuff you're talking about. So I think, yeah, it's gotten quite a bit easier because Coinbase, if you go on there and set up an account, it makes it pretty easy to buy in whatever amount of Bitcoin you want, or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum. They offer 4 coins right now. And then once you get started there, you basically have to use one of those 4 coins to make your purchases. Then you can take those coins and go out to other exchanges and trade those coins for other coins that you may want to purchase.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I remember I was at the Texas Bitcoin conference, and there was talks about ICOs and whether or not they want to be in the U.S., for instance, or be outside of the U.S. and kind of running their own rogue enterprise. And, the thing about it, and this was the flip, the two edges of the sword is you might be able to be more decentralized and outside of the U.S. and not have all the rules and regulations and even taxes. But if you do comply and you do come into the U.S., you might have a 10x market for whatever it is that you're trying to start up. The market size might be a lot larger than it would be if you try to do it without the government. And I'm not saying that's a reason. It's not a morally acceptable reason that I'm saying somebody should do it, because I don't believe in big government and big brother over our shoulders. But it's a real problem that people are facing, and that is that the U.S. and Western civilization has the majority of the wealth, and you either try to stay outside of that and do your own thing, or you kind of come into the rules and regulations of everything, and maybe you have a much larger market which outweigh the benefits from being outside of the system. So it's how much rules and regulations are out there and how willing people will be to comply with these regulators. And I still don't know what that balance is going to be yet in this world of decentralization.
I would tend to agree with that as well, because I think that fortunately here in the United States, they've given us a lot of ability to at least buy and sell these cryptocurrencies, and they haven't given us a whole lot of hassle. Yes, we do have to do some of the KYC stuff, and you do have to verify your identity. And as many people as I run into in this new world, they all think Bitcoin's anonymous. It's not anonymous. Believe me, if the authorities want to track it down, they can track it down. You are not being anonymous. I think it's a whole lot easier at this point to play by the rules and let's work within the system that they've given us. And hopefully, this will continue, kind of like the internet. They gave the internet a whole lot of autonomy and freedom, and they didn't make a whole lot of rules when it first came out in the early 90s. And I think we all benefited from that, because then they started regulating it as as it moved forward a little later into the 90s after they saw what it was going to become.
Sure. Yeah, Charlie, I tend to agree with you, and I think it's still an unfolding landscape, and a lot of these projects and on-ramps to cryptocurrency, it's like the frontier, and many people have said it. You know, if you're the first one through the door, you might get shot, but the opportunity that exists here is absolutely astounding. And you know, you have some of the smartest people in the world incentivized financially to come up with something big to offer society here in 2018. And I think it's so exciting. It's super exciting to see what is happening. And I think people should embrace technology, embrace new information, because I think information in the 21st century is a commodity. And the more of it you have, the smarter you are, the better you are financially, and more prepared you are for the future, because things are changing at a very, very fast rate. And I think it's important to be in front of these trends. So Bitcoin Charlie, everyone. Charlie, if people want to learn more about you and your websites and the content that you put out, please share with everyone where they can find you, and also share some closing thoughts as well.
Okay. Anybody wants to get started in this new exciting space, I would highly encourage you to do so. Don't invest a lot of money here if you don't understand it, but do maybe take a small gamble and invest a small amount. I'm not a financial advisor nor a consultant, so what I'm saying here is just based on my own beliefs. But my website is easycryptocurrency.com. You can get all the information you need today to get started on this great new exciting trend. And just to give you a couple stats here, in 2017, we averaged at Coinbase averaged about 25,000 users a day they were opening up new accounts to. Towards the end of the year, it was up to 100,000 a day. Now in 2018, just in the month of January, Coinbase new accounts have spiked to 300,000 a day. And it's not just happening at Coinbase. Over Binance, that's another exchange, it's outside of the U.S., they had 240,000 applicants in 1 hour. So this space is really starting to explode, and I think we're at that very beginning leg of the curve that's going to really do the hockey stick ramp upwards, because we just got all kinds of users now starting to move into this space. I think it's going to be a really, really exciting time going forward.
Yeah, you know, and we're seeing a lot of small retail people, you know, like you and I come into the space in a large degree, but we really haven't seen the big money enter the space. But that's kind of the cool thing about cryptocurrencies. Yep. is there's no barrier for the average person to get into this. Actually, there's been a large barrier for the big money because they have their rules and regulations. But as soon as we start to see that in a big way, that's the next wave up. And I mean, we're looking at a $500 million market cap across cryptocurrencies. We're going to easily see that go into the $1 trillion range. I think that can happen sooner rather than later. But having said that, Bitcoin Charlie, thanks for coming on CrushTheStreet.com with me today.
Thank you for having me again.